Hello, welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. I am Jordan. I have with me Kyle, and we have with us Dominic Yoney. He is a mellifluous musician, and you may find him in your local Florida open mic night, or by day you may know him as the editor and forum moderator for InsideEVs, as well as one of the pillar hosts who helps keep the show on track, or tries to, while the other gentlemen just blab on about. Anyways, Dom, welcome to the show. Welcome
Hey
to
there.
our kind of guest series. Of course, we've done many podcasts with you over on InsideEVs, but it's fun to have you over here and kind of hear a bit more about what you do. A lot of people go to InsideEVs, and we covered news as well on our show, not EV centric necessarily, but not everyone knows where you come from. How'd you get there? So do you want to touch on
Well,
that?
first of all, he's from the Canadian side of the border.
Oh, yes.
So that explains half of the intricacies of Dom right there.
And
Yeah.
where in Canada are you from?
So I was born in Toronto, but I grew up in on the East Coast in New Brunswick, rural New Brunswick, and then I moved to Montreal for like 11 years, and then I moved down here. And oh, by the way, I'm just showing off
Nice.
my
Yeah. What are you
cheers.
guys drinking, by the way?
This is a Pilsner Urquell. It's a Czech beer, the original Pilsner, I believe.
Nice.
It was a 2-for-1. So yeah.
Why not? Yep. I have a Menagia all'Alba Sangiovese, which is an old world style red wine from Italy.
That was amazing pronunciation. I'm drinking some good old Kentucky straight bourbon.
Which Kentucky straight bourbon? I like some bourbons.
It's not my favorite. It's a very basic Basil Hayden.
Okay.
Not what I would typically go for. Just had some in the house. Made a pretty good dent in the bottle, considering this isn't one of my favorite whiskeys.
Right. I need to try that. I mean, it's one of those ones I look at sometimes. I don't think I've actually bought that. I usually go for like Bullet or
Angel's Envy is
I
the
haven't-
jam.
That's
really?
Kyle's favorite.
How
Yep.
much is that? Is that like $50 bottle?
It like this might be like $10 cheaper, $5 cheaper for the same amount, but it's got like a fancier bottle, which to me seems a little gaudy. I'm not into this metal strip.
Right.
I like a nice, honest bottle of whiskey. And to me, Angel's Envy is commercial grade. It's not specialized. There's so many better, weird. I guess I don't know the right word for it, but artisan whiskey.
Yeah, it's delicious without being intricate.
It's like Chili's. You just know it's going to be good every time you go.
I've never been to Chili's.
I went there for lunch today. I love Chili's.
Classic. So
Right.
Dom,
Right.
I guess what brought you to the US first of all? And where did you go first?
So I have dual citizenship because my father was American. So I always had the option of moving to the States, and I was just tired of being unemployed in Montreal, and then my sister invited me down here to Florida to visit, and Florida turned out to be a lot nicer than I kind of expected it to be, and I ended up like just staying basically. Yeah, and and I just got a job driving a truck delivering auto parts at nighttime, and listening to the radio and driving 400 miles a day, and I loved it. Actually, it was great.
So, what part of Florida did you originally move to? Because I've been to your house in Tallahassee, and it's wonderful. The steepest driveway known to man. I mean, that
Yes.
driveway does not exist here in Colorado because it would be impassable in the wintertime.
Oh,
I
yeah, no,
remember
you couldn't do this in the winter. No.
you got to go like extra handbrake. Like it must be 100-degree slope. It's a 45-degree angle almost.
Yeah, I would say it's about 45, just about 45, maybe 40.
Yeah, I mean, it's
pretty
when I
steep.
say 100-degree slope, I meant to say 100% slope. It's really unbelievable. Like when I say it's steep, I don't mean like, oh, you have a steep driveway. I mean like you look at the moon on this thing. Why did you buy a house with such a crazy driveway?
Well, it was cheap, and it was it was like I did a lot of shopping for this house, and because we were living in a trailer before, and
Yeah.
for like when I first moved here, I just lived in a trailer and whatever, it was fine. But then I got married, so I needed a proper house, and so we did a lot of shopping around, and yeah, this was on the market, good price, and
It's a nice house. Like it was
that's all right.
awesome.
Yeah,
It was a beautiful
I got a
backyard.
good deal.
And the driveway is a non-issue in Florida. You really don't get snow more than. Do you even get snow?
It doesn't stick on the ground. Every once in a while, it'll fall, but it doesn't stick on the ground. Yeah.
I was going
Right.
to
So
say,
you're not going flying down in your Spark EV. You don't have
No.
to worry about that.
Yeah.
Could the driveway play a part in determining what car you own? Like, is there a breakover angle you need to?
I mean, the breakover angle is something you need to consider. Really, if it was like a super low car with a super long wheelbase, it might not work. But so I drive a 2015 Spark EV, Chevy Spark EV, and it's got a short wheelbase and it breaks over real easy, and it drives up in there. And my other vehicle is a 1988 Ford Ranger STX
Nice.
4-wheel drive. So it's got, I think it's something like around 2 inches of lift from the factory. So it's plenty high, and it goes
Yeah.
over there.
And it's
No
a
problem.
manual, right?
It is a manual. Oh yeah,
That's
Proper
excellent.
truck.
it's like driving a tractor. It's been a while since I've driven. I need to replace the battery.
Well, you got to cycle it and let it move. I actually haven't driven. I have one of these Sprinter camper vans, and I hadn't driven it since I think we took it to rescue the Model 3. So it's been almost a month.
Okay.
And started it up and gave it, I don't know, 3 minutes just to warm up and think about life, and backed it out of the garage, and then it stalled right in the middle of the road. And I was
Yep.
like, well, this is a brand new 2021 vehicle that just stalled. What kind of crap is this? And I was like, wow, you really got to drive these combustion vehicles. They just do not like to sit.
Yeah, mine's been sitting a bit longer than that. I went to take it out a while back to do some. I usually do it. I usually pull it out when my friend calls up and they need to move something. It's like a truck. I'm the friend with the
What
truck.
do you think about the Ford Maverick hybrid? Because that's a small truck, kind of like yours,
Yeah,
but
I think
very.
it's great. I mean, I really like it. It's affordable. I mean, that's really the great part. The price is like a 20,000 neighborhood or close to it to start with, and it's small. It's unpretentious. Does work. It's got great gas mileage. I'm an electric vehicle guy. It's not electric, but there's nothing comparable in the electric market, and there won't be for a while. So I think it's a great vehicle.
And then when you look at those in sort of mass deployment, if people are switching from their, regular F-150s or stuff and
Oh yeah.
downsizing, I think from a CO2 standpoint, it's really doing a lot to reduce emissions. The reason I bring it up is we tested it last week, and I think Jordan and I both fell in love with this truck. And I think the best way to describe it was how you did, which is it's an unpretentious vehicle that just goes about its business. It's no frills, but it's also not bad to be in. Like that, the best
No, it's not
interior.
bad. I saw it in person. It looks fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. But I think that brings me on to why are EVs so expensive, and what do we do? Even the used market's gone crazy. Do you remember, Dominic? Because you've been covering EVs. I think maybe we should. I'm getting too excited talking about cars. But you originally, when you got into the automotive business, you were driving your truck around delivering parts, but
Right.
you got into Autoblog Green. Is that?
Yeah, Autoblog. So I started writing with Autoblog Green. I had never really wrote before that, and just after Katrina, it was this all the with so Katrina happened, and it was really a weather event that was a lot of global warming issues sort of was put under that banner or whatever. Anyway, it got me thinking about how can we reduce our carbon in transportation. So I just read as much as I could on the internet and looked at different alternatives like diesel and this and that, biodiesel and ethanol, and this electric seemed like the best thing. So I started reading Autoblog Green, and they had a lot of electric vehicle news. There weren't a whole lot of electrical vehicles at the time, but yeah. So I just read a lot, and eventually I would comment a lot, and and then eventually they asked for submissions for writers, and I said, well, why not? And so I sent them like a really terrible article. It was so bad, and they still hired me anyway. That's great.
So who was running Autoblog Green back then? Because John Neff was doing the full Autoblog site, right? And
Right.
we've had him on this program before.
Oh yeah. John was running Autoblog, but then Sebastian Blanco ran Autoblog Green.
Okay. Is he
Yeah.
still kicking around?
Oh yeah, he's and I think he's going to be doing some stuff for InsideEVs too. I think I'm not really sure exactly, but I've seen him just recently. He's been freelancing a lot, and he does regular work for here and there. I forget, Forbes maybe. I forget exactly, but yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. So you submitted articles, and then at what point did it turn from a hobby of writing about electric cars and sharing your passion of efficiency and reducing our load on climate to obviously, what's interesting about you is you're very much focused on our climate, but also performance. you,
Yeah,
you,
well, I like performance.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so electric's really perfect because you get all the power and stuff. But at what point did you take this from, okay, I'm doing this for fun, to this is now my full-time job to be working in the auto industry?
Right. Well, it was a part-time job for me for years. I mean, I just, I would just write, 3, 4 articles a day or whatever it was for Autoblog Green, and then that kind of petered up over time. The editors and chiefs changed. It changed from Autoblog Green, went away, and it was just I was just working for Autoblog, and which is fine. But I don't know. I just wasn't quite as engaged, and eventually I quit, and because I got a job, like in a regular job, my driving job went away. My driving job changed a few times. It was driving for an independent parts distributor, then a different one, and then I was driving for FedEx at night doing a shuttle run, and that didn't really pay well. And so then I got an office job doing like CAD CAM kind of stuff, which they trained me for. I just learned how to do it in about 6 months of that. And John Neff called me up, who was the former editor in chief of Autoblog, and asked me if I wanted to help start a forum, an electric vehicle forum for InsideEVs. I said, okay. Sure.
How long ago was that?
3 years, 4 years. I'm not really sure now. Maybe it's 4 years now.
I think it must be 4 years because I got involved 3 years ago and you were already involved by then.
Okay. Yeah. And I really didn't expect it to work, because internet forums are really like, 90s and early 2000s kind of deal. Everyone's on Facebook now, Facebook groups for this kind of information. But I think the forums still have a good place and have a lot to offer, but they're overshadowed, I think, by Facebook a lot now. But
yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people they are mutually exclusive in terms of how they can exist, because the amount of people I meet that just don't have Facebook or don't care, or Facebook to them is how to interact with friends and family. And then there's me who, like you said, I use Facebook as my forum place. I am just in 300 groups. I mean, OEM wheels on different makes and models, headlight spotting on RVs, like every group you can think of has been come up with, and it's on Facebook.
Headlight spotting on RVs? Really?
That's the best group on Facebook. Should we explain this?
Yeah, Kyle, explain it.
Okay, so there's a group on Facebook, and there's a group for everything. A couple of my favorites, one I bring up a lot, is foreign market car sightings, which are cars in places of the world where they were never intended to be. So whether it's right-hand drive Japanese stuff or like a Suburban in downtown Shanghai, really interesting things. But this one is great specifically because we have a lot of different RV makers here in the US, and a lot of them are hodgepodge together with whatever DOT approved parts you can get. So the idea of this group is to guess what headlights and taillights they used on the RVs going down the road, because a lot of these RV makers don't have enough volume to produce their own lighting designs.
Right. No, you just buy whatever you can get on the open
so
market.
Like a lot of them use like Chevy Tahoe headlights.
Sure. That makes sense.
And so you'll see like Chrysler 300 rear taillights on a RV.
Yeah, awesome. So are you good with checking? Are you good with that? Can you look at like an RV and figure out what kind of headlights they have, Jordan?
I'm pretty good, but there are some people that are majorly better at it.
Yeah, I'm not great at it. I just get entertainment out of it. But like Kyle said, I love the foreign market car spotting one. I've even posted a few times because it was great, because I found it like the day after I saw a Volkswagen Amarok in Boulder. Kyle told me about that group, and I was like, oh, finally a place I could post these photos in, because I was like, what do I do with this picture? No one's gonna care. Literally no one's gonna. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, you posted a picture of a pickup truck. But then there's these people who are like super nerds and want to see foreign cars and other markets, and so that's the place for it. But like I said, a lot of people, and I'm really deep in the Miata communities. I run a few Miata groups and stuff on Facebook, and there's a huge percentage that are in the Venn diagram that don't overlap. People who are only on Facebook and in Miata groups, and then people who only go to the forums in the Miatas. And I think that's probably true for any vehicles. I mean, there's just people that don't care about Facebook, so it can't be the only platform. And I think forums can often be easier to search. If you're just going, because people are a lot of times going to Google and just saying such and such, and that's not usually going to parse through like a Facebook group, especially if it's private, and a
Right.
lot of them are. Versus forums, like I've found a lot of value in forums from the Miata stuff because I'm looking for the wiring diagram for the head unit of a 2012 Miata, and I don't know where I'd find that in Facebook unless I'm already in the group. Versus someone
Right.
who's a prospective buyer maybe would not necessarily go to Facebook first.
Yeah, I got into forums with my Ranger basically because Rangers, I wouldn't say high maintenance, but things go wrong, and I have an STX, and it's very particular. It's got very particular suspension parts that the other Ford Rangers don't have, and so to get the information I needed to go search through forums to find what I needed. So I got familiar with them there, and then I
Yeah.
just explored more of those later on with like the Tesla Motors Club was a great forum, especially at the beginning. Aptera there was an Aptera forum that was pretty colorful, pretty interesting,
Yeah.
pretty busy. Yeah, I like that.
Nice.
That was good. That
Why
was a nice
why
one.
do you think the Aptera forum? They're not publicly traded, right?
I mean, it went away a long time ago. That forum,
Oh,
it
okay.
died.
So they're
Because
in their first.
the first run, yeah,
Yeah,
in the
I want to go drive
2010-ish,
one of those.
12-ish.
They're letting people drive them now. I think next time we go to Cali, we'll be able to set up a drive, right, Jordan?
Yeah, you
Because
might get
Forrest,
into like a beta vehicle. I think that's what they have going now, right?
Yeah,
the black
Forrest
one.
drove it, and he was pretty disappointed with the quality, but it was pre-production, and
Yes.
pre-production can mean barely running or basically production, and we've seen every part of that spectrum. So I think that would be fun to drive. Because I think they're in San Diego, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think they're pretty
easy.
rough as far as they're not really finished, and the software is not it's just kind of
Cool
put
design, though.
together. I mean,
Yeah, I love the design.
yeah, they released some new sketches I think earlier this week on Sunday actually, and I just found about them actually on a forum. There's one Aptera guy member who's he's the only person I think we have really in our Aptera. Wait, so the Inside EVs forum has like a sub forum for most of the major makes and models of electric cars, and
Mhm.
Aptera has its own sub forum now. And so, but he's basically the only guy in there for the most part. He does like the major merge. He kind of keeps things going. So if you're interested in Aptera, you can probably find the latest little bit of news. He's got posted up in there. That's just cool. So anyway, he had this post with all these different photos that they had released of the new design, and it looks good. I think Jason Hill is their designer. He was with them originally, and he's back with them again.
Nice.
Yeah.
So from the forum perspective, I mean, do you have analytics as far as how many people are using these forums on a daily basis? Like, do you know how popular they kind of are, or is it just like each subset has its little niche?
Yeah, I mean, I can see. So I look at Analytics 360 through Google, and that kind of tells me my overall traffic. I could dig into that deeper if I want, but I'm pretty busy with everything I do.
Yeah, because you're not just running the forum, you're also a community moderator. So you do a lot of comments throughout the site. Like I think what's really unique about Inside EVs and Motor One, but I would say even more Inside EVs, is we can write about a very controversial topic. You guys can cover a really important piece that might have split view, whether it's Tesla or a Tesla competitor. And I think like the users of the site generally are very sort of calm, and they share their thoughts, but that takes a lot of work from your side to keep that viewpoint looking that way. Because
right. Well, we moderate it pretty. Sorry.
Go ahead. That's fine.
I was just going to say we moderate it Inside EVs pretty heavily as far as the comments go. Traditionally that's the way it's been done there. So as I think it says at the beginning, no insults, no swearing. So if you do too much of that, you'll get banned. And I'm sorry.
So I mean, from a daily perspective, you're really an integral part of that. We also do the weekly podcast for Inside
Right.
EV, which is now having bonus shows, which is really exciting, going into an infrastructure series. If you're into electric cars and you don't already, make sure you check out the Inside EVs podcast. But I'm pretty sure everyone who listens to this already knows about it. I guess, Dominic, can we talk more about your personal interest? Because on the show, on Inside EVs, people have gotten to know you and me and Tom, but only a very small portion of us, and not really where our genuine interests lie, car related or not car related. So I guess what I'm really curious, and I've never asked you this, if you had to buy an electric car today, money no object, other than Rimatt's Navara, which I know would be number one. We're talking, reasonably expensive
mass consumer car, maybe,
and not hypercar level. We're
Right.
you go up 150 grand. What would you be bringing home?
Man, that's hard. That is hard. This is a very difficult question. Man, there's so many great cars right now that I like. I like Porsche Taycan. I like even Tesla Model S was kind of nice that I got to drive in.
So we drove in the Taycan 4S. You were in the Cannonball car. We took it out to Key West together. Remember that?
Yes, I got to drive that one.
Yep.
And no, I drove the Audi GT. That was what I drove in California with y'all.
Right.
Yeah, the RC Tron.
Yeah, that's all right. I prefer the Taycan more than that.
Me too.
Then the Rivian R1T or the R1S possibly. But I like a pickup truck. So I have a 2-car garage, but if I could narrow it down to just like the one vehicle, it kind of be a truck, and then I could load whatever up, kayaks and camping and whatever. It'd be great.
I mean, Kyle knows I'm obsessed with 2-car solutions. So if you filled your garage, what would that look like? I mean, a Rivian, and then what would be your almost sporty counterpart if you care about the sporty driving?
I think the Rivian. Well, I mean, it's Rivian's already pretty sporty driving.
Yeah,
I'm very curious what the GMC Sierra EV is going to be like. I have a feeling that's going to be pretty nice. And but I mean, I kind of like the Rivian because it's a little bit smaller. I've always liked the smaller pickup trucks more than the big pickup trucks. So I drive a Ranger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So small, sporty, man. They don't really make what I want yet. I don't think.
I'm in the same boat.
I want a convertible. I want a two-door convertible.
I really want a Tesla Roadster, the old one even, except maintaining that would be a nightmare.
Yeah. But even that's like a Targa top. It's not.
Yeah, it's not a full convertible.
I want full open.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe I would hate it. I've never owned a convertible, but I've rented them a few times.
Oh, and I will always own a full convertible, and they haven't made my car yet. But I don't know. I mean, even the other day, me and Kyle saw a Beetle, and I was like, an MEB based Beetle full convertible electric car. That would actually intrigue me a bit. It'd be weird and quirky.
It's right there for Volkswagen. They can
2 doors, right?
They're making the bus on the MEB chassis. They have the ID3 adapted on MEB. Just take the rear doors out, give it a drop top, and we have the new MEB Beetle. Why not?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. You should work for Volkswagen.
That would be my license plate. It would be ME Beetle. And the super nerds would get it.
All right, let's call Herbert himself. I'll give him a ring right now. Say, hey, dude, make the Beetle.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So I guess when you owned your Spark, did you buy it new? Like, how long have you had it?
No, I bought it secondhand. It had like 9,000. I did a lot of shopping around. I think it took me like 3 months to find the deal. I was like torn between the Spark EV and the Fiat 500e. It took me a while
because the 500e, you made the right choice. The 500e is interesting, but the Spark is a much more serious package.
I think it's Fiat. I mean, the Fiat 500e is a little less robust. Say.
Well, it's funny. I had a Fiat 500.
Okay.
Not the E, just a 500, and it was a very robust car except for the electronics. So why would I want a 500 that is all electronics?
Right. Yeah, I mean, so far I've been pretty happy with, knock on wood, with this car. I mean, I really like it. It's fun to drive. The steering feel feels great.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of zip for in town. Small and compact. You can whip it around anywhere. And nothing's broken on it yet, really. I mean, nothing. I mean, it's got the battery. It's 2015. It's got the original battery in it. There's like this original 12 volts, which is bizarre. I'm waiting for it to strand me. Like, I almost replaced that. So I had a little diagnostic light come on like last summer sometime. It's like, oh, I wonder if that means my battery's about to go. But then it didn't. And then it went away. I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep on driving.
That's perfect. That's the best part of these cars is you just keep going. And then when they do break, it's really generally pretty simple.
Yep.
Hopefully.
I mean, that would suck if it wasn't. I think we'll be sending you the smart car if it does break. We'll get you down that thing.
Yeah, so I got really lucky on this one. So it was like a $9,000, and it had like 9,000 miles on it.
Wow.
Which, and it was in a couple of years ago, so it was like a little bit newer.
Yep.
And so it's like,
Well, today you could probably sell it for more than that.
I could probably sell it for at least that. Well, put even new tires on it, and then I could sell it for
Give it a full charge,
that
add
plus
another
new.
couple bucks on top.
So yeah, I charged it the other day, and it's starting to warm up in Tallahassee, and so
Wait, did it
new.
ever get cold?
Yeah, it gets cold here, it's chilly here in the wintertime. I learned when I first moved here. I was really surprised. Yeah, it gets below freezing at nighttime sometimes.
So
Wow.
how's the range in the
My
cold?
my range will drop to like 66 miles,
Hmm.
basically. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm just looking for
Are
pictures.
you ever going 66 miles anywhere? Airport is probably the farthest place, right?
Yeah, if I forget to charge, do a
Fair.
couple things.
But have you put in a level 2 at your house yet?
I have. I finally plugged it in. I had the plugs. I just charged this thing off of 110 for like the first 2 years, and then last fall I had a 240 outlet put in that I could plug in this EVSE, this electric. What is it called?
Electric
Vehicle
supply
Service Supply Equipment. Right. Stupidest
I
acronym
know.
ever.
Charger, even though
It's
it's
a
not.
home charging unit, basically. So
Yeah.
anyway, I plugged it in. After it got warmer the other day.
Oh,
81 miles of predicted range.
Whoa. You can go across
Brand-
the country. And it has
Brand new. It
CCS.
was like, well, brand new. 6 or 7 years ago, it was at 83 miles. So that's not a whole lot of degradation.
meter.
Right.
So
It's not
it's
super
like-
accurate. No.
Yeah.
I need to measure it properly with what do you put something in the OBD2 port, and then there's some software you can see what the cells are actually doing.
Right. And then you got to drive it from full charge to where it doesn't move anymore and log how many kilowatt hours you can pull out of it at low speed with low acceleration. I guess, back when I was at your house, it was a few years ago now, where I saw the Spark EV, but it was having issues with Electrify America back then. Remember, Sparks didn't communicate for some reason, but I think that's fixed now.
I mean, so John Neff, who we talked about before, he had a Spark EV. I think he's got rid of it now, but he successfully DC fast charged at Electrify America up in Ohio. And I did try it here a couple times with no luck, but then he did his successful charging episode, but I haven't tried it since because it's across town, like the Electrify America fast chargers. I don't go over there too often. When I do, I don't need to charge because it's not that far away.
I'd be curious though. You should swing in and just see if you can get it to activate and charge on some of the newer software. That would be an interesting story, I think, is, we've gone from 0 successful sessions to 2. I think that'd be a great thing to talk about on the podcast.
That's true. And I believe I do have some poor video footage for my first ill-fated attempts still on my phone. Yeah.
Yeah, let's put together a little podcast segment on that. I would say just run over next time you're there. Just, obviously if you don't need to charge, that's what you want, because it may not. But it also could be dependent on the Electrify America hardware. Certain hardware, in Ohio could be different spec than what you have because they have 2 or 3 different manufacturers of chargers that they use. But I'd be really curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a living, breathing example of why not everyone needs 200 plus miles of range, because that's an interesting thing that's been very present lately amongst especially the non-EV focused car groups that I'm in. Someone will post something about an EV and they'll say, "Hey, what are your all's impressions?" And it's usually a combustion car owner commenting saying, "Oh, that thing only has 210 miles of EPA range. It's trash."
Right.
And it's like, I don't know. It's interesting to hear people's arguments back and forth over and over of how much range do you actually need.
Right. I mean, it all depends, how much range and where are the fast charging, facilities, and where do you drive a lot? So maybe for some people it still won't work. Maybe there's not, fast charging where they need it to be yet. I mean, it's coming, but it's we're not quite there yet. I don't think there's still big stretches out by you, north of you in Colorado and in Wyoming. There's
it's impossible to get Lake even today, even though they're building in the network needed. But this will get completed soon. But I think there's another big glaring issue that's becoming increasingly more apparent to me, especially as we're starting to see this wave of new vehicle launches. They're all crazy expensive. Rivians are now $100,000 maxed out. Taycans are $100,000 maxed out. You know, the cheapest new electric car in the U.S. I think is $30,000 plus or
Nissan
minus.
Leaf. Nissan Leaf. I think is below that.
Yeah, 27, something like that. 20
For-
grand.
27. Yeah, and you can probably find a Chevy Bolt EV for that as well once they sell them again.
Yeah. But the problem then is like that's still 30 grand for a new car. It would be
Right.
great to like. I think we need a really freaking cheap city electric car for people that just has 110 charging, that's totally decontented. We need like the Ford Maverick approach to EVs, because
Right.
the thing that really sucks about electric cars in America for people is, and I don't want to go on and on about this, but
It's okay.
we have massive subsidies for electric cars, $7,500 for each electric car. But like it's
That's a tax credit though, and people who buy cheap cars can't take advantage of it.
Thank you. That's my point. It's like we're only helping rich people drive nice cars.
Right.
Where's the benefit to anyone in that? What it should be is either cash on the hood so everyone can take advantage of it, or we really need to put some effort into making, I think, a very affordable, short-ish range electric car. And
Or both.
Crazy over here.
So Volkswagen just brought back the E-Up in Europe. That's the kind of car you're talking about. It's kind of like the like my Spark, and actually the Spark would be a great car to bring back too in electric form. I'm not sure why GM did away with that so much, but I think if they could sell it cheap, why not?
What about this Wuling Hong Ching something?
No, that's too
out there.
Wouldn't pass crash testing here, I don't think.
Okay, so that's the thing, because there was this wave of candy EV excitement. You remember this? And I am still the only independent journalist to ever drive a candy EV for review.
Yeah, I don't know how they thought they could do that. Yeah.
Well, they were so convinced, and I was still pretty early on in reviewing cars, and I'm like, oh, you'll pass crash? You're convinced? Great, we'll put that in the video. Now, I would never do that. I'd be like, call me when you can sell this thing. And, you live and learn, of course, but
right.
That was an interesting proposition, because it was going to be like $10,000 or $6,000 in Colorado, $10,000 in other states that didn't have a state credit. Of course, you'd have to make the money to qualify for the federal, but at least the state is cash on the hood.
Right.
And I thought that was going to be transformative. Level 1 charging, had pretty good range, drove decently for the price. And like that really was exciting to me, because then it's like, it accomplishes really 3 main topics that I think are really underserved. First is from an emissions standpoint. I think a lot of wealthy people don't mind spending a couple extra $1,000s to have a fun toy to commute around in and do their errands, whatever. So that's reducing their emissions. But I think that's the least important part of what that car can do. The second is it really can be a great financial tool for someone who owns a combustion car to purchase this as their everyday inner city commute to work. And then they have their combustion car for long trips, because you couldn't just own one as your only car if you do business outside of town or go see family. But then there's a whole nother category of people that literally cannot afford to own and operate a vehicle, whether it's a used vehicle that requires maintenance, or a new vehicle
insurance,
requires financing, insurance, all of these things.
All this stuff. Cars are expensive, man. Holy cow.
And yeah, insanely expensive. And so I thought, like, okay, for 10 grand or something like this, you could finance it for, I don't know, $70 a month with insurance. You're into this thing for, $150 maybe, depending, driving records. But I'm like, that's a pretty manageable thing for someone making, sort of minimum wage, who just needs to get to and from work. And I think in Europe, they're way ahead of this. They have the Citroën Ami, which I love because it's so quirky and interesting and whatever, right? But it really does serve a purpose of being cheap transportation for people who otherwise may not have been able to drive it. And I think we have no solution to this right now in the US, and it's a big gaping hole in the car market. But not to go on a ramp. I don't need to go on.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, there is like the equivalent of like a Nissan Sentra or a Chevy Spark, non-EV, which they still make the Chevy Sparks, but I'm not sure how much they cost, but $12,000-$13,000, like basic transportation, like nothing fancy.
I think we really need something under 10, and I think it's doable.
Man, I don't think, but we don't have any gas cars under 10 though.
Yeah, I think it's doable. Golf carts are under 10.
And sometimes you can use golf carts.
Yeah. So anyway, I think
Peachtree, Georgia, I think.
Yeah, let's go make a cheap car. Should be easy, right? It'll end up being 200 grand.
Yeah, exactly. We'll raise our prices 17% just before.
Anyway, it's a shame. And then we get into charging these cars, and that's a topic we've been covering a lot on Inside EVs, which is how do you make charging better than gas from an experience side, from a cost side, but then also that just works and that is ubiquitous, and that is a topic that no one's cracked the code yet.
Right. Well, I mean, they're starting with the plug-in charge thing, right?
Yeah, plug-in charge. We have the EQS that just got dropped off. Speaking of cheap and inexpensive cars, the new luxury Mercedes. But this just got dropped off. It has plug-in charge. We'll be doing some charging tests with it.
Which EQS?
It's a 450 plus, which is the rear-wheel drive, big battery, but it has snow tires. So they didn't send an all-wheel drive to Colorado.
Right, of course. Because why would you do that?
Yeah, because
it's not like it snows in Colorado.
And this is right after we had the hot weather Land Rover Defender,
right,
with no off-road capability.
And Land Rover sent the least off-roady version of their vehicle to the place with the most off-road trails.
Oh man, did you take it off-road?
No, because it didn't have anything.
We drove around to the mall. That's what people are going to do with it.
Soft-roaded. Okay.
But we actually had another one that had all the off-roady stuff, so we can't complain too much. But it was just such a weird spec to arrive.
Do you have snow there now to take the EQS out in?
No, it was 70 degrees and sunny today. There's snow on the ground, but not on the pavement.
Right. Right. I guess you'd have to go off-road, but then you don't really want to take the EQS off-road.
No.
No.
I do not want to put a scratch in that car.
No.
Yeah, Mercedes wouldn't be so happy about that, I don't think. Oh, so what with the EQS?
Are you enjoying it now? I mean, you've been in the EQS a few times before, but
yeah, I've spent a couple hundred, maybe even close to 1,000 miles in EQS at this point. I drove this one 2 miles today, and then when I got home, Blue had a medical emergency. We had to rush him to the vet, so it's just sat in the driveway all day. And but yeah, he's fine, which is good.
That's good.
Accidentally got into too much medicine, and we were worried he overdosed, and he did. And we got him there in time, so a crisis averted. But
Blue,
what I thought may have been a $5,000 or $6,000 visit was only $300, so we're good.
That's
nice.
I was like, here we go.
I know that feeling.
I'm joking. We would pay anything for him. Blue, come here.
That's the thing. Yeah, you would pay anything. It's just like it just hurts afterwards.
Yeah.
Here he is, nice and healthy.
Puppies.
After his big scare today.
So does this EQS have the big hyper screen across the front of it?
Yes, it does. I believe they only have one media car in the US without it. And I don't like it.
I'm actually in the same boat. It can be fun and gimmicky. Like when we were out at the Out of Spec Summit thing we did in California,
right?
I had Drew in the passenger seat, and I was like, Drew, would you please enable my massaging seat? And he was like, yes, sir, right away. And he got on his screen and turned on my massaging seat. And, it was like, a fun passenger seat butler situation, but like he could have done everything on the center screen.
Right. It's got a center screen on the by your arm there anyway, right? You could do all that there. You don't really need one in front of you, but even like a Cadillac, and that's one of the hallmarks of the new Cadillacs now. They're going to have screens from pillar to A pillar. It's going to be all screen.
So can you tell us about this Cadillac thing you went to in
Warren, Michigan, at the Tech Center in the Design Dome, GM Design Dome.
Wow! If they just spent that much time coming up with these names, they could build a pretty good car one of these days.
It was pretty nice. It's like a big round kind of room with a dome ceiling, and you walk in, it's kind of like almost like a church. It was very quiet. There's only a few of us there, and they had so they have a portfolio of concepts called the Halo concepts, and there's 3 of them. There's inner space, social space, and personal space.
And Blue fell off the couch. Look, he's trying to get back up now.
Blue, what's going on, Blue?
He's drugged up a little bit. He's going crazy. Blue, come on, get up.
All our audio
So-
listeners are missing out.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Come on, buddy.
So the personal space is like a hovercraft kind of situation, one person thing, and it's all
looks
autonomous. There's no steering
interesting.
wheel or controls. It's all voice operated or maybe gestures.
Can you think of a scarier thing of being airborne in a vehicle with no controls?
That's very true. It's like being at an amusement park because you have no control, but then it's like in 3D world where anything could go wrong. Yeah, it's kind of, you put it that way. Yeah, it's a little bit concerning. I don't know. It would take a while to build up my trust level, and I guess the public's trust level as well.
Well, they have to make it first. Was there anything like material that was there that's going to come soon?
Well, the most material. So they had the inner space, which was a huge, big coupe, and that also had no controls, and it was pretty cool. And fancy doors and ever opening roof. But the closest thing to that coming is a Celestique, which is a 4-door, but it's also big and long and luxury. Awesome it's going to be, and it has its steering wheel, at least. So all the stuff that you're used to, but. To me, I really like the Celestique. It really harkens back to older Cadillacs from like the 70s and 60s. Big and long, fancy tail lights.
Yeah, we need more pizzazz in the world. I think you and I have spoken about this, where I'm not so much into concepts, but what I do appreciate is that an electric vehicle architecture, from a design perspective, allows for crazy new, unimagined designs.
Right.
And shapes. And I think, everything from bringing back the American land yacht from the 70s in today's interpretations. I think the EQS, by the way, is the most full embodiment of the American land yacht to happen, because it's so squishy. It's so comfortable. There's not much sporting cred there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, but I guess just because we're sort of getting near the end of our show, can we talk a little bit about your, I guess, interests, your predictions? Where is this all going to go? Where are the areas that electrification needs big focus in? Because I know we talk about it every week on a very micro level, but what's your macro, pull back a little bit, full scale thought?
Where it needs to go? Well, we really need this whole supply chain issues to go away and get back on track with lowering prices, because battery technology is advancing, and prices have been coming down over, batteries were like $1,000 a kilowatt hour, 10 years ago. And now it's like around $100. So that's like a tenfold improvement. Right. So that's going to continue. I think it will have again. I think we should be able to see $50 a kilowatt hour within the next, I don't know, 5 years. I would hope.
Do you think that's with current battery technology, or is this with some?
No, as it improves, because the more batteries improve, the less raw materials you need to hold the kilowatt hour of energy. And then hopefully we'll see other improvements, like cold weather improvements in battery performance, and faster, the ability to take, charges faster, better cycle life. Degradation is not too bad now.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, it's not really that big an issue. It's more energy storage and speed to charge, because I'd love to see like 5-minute charging, megawatt.
Did you see this new phone that came out today with this 5-minute charge? Apparently,
Oh, really?
It's 240 watts into a little phone. It rips.
What phone do you know offhand?
No, but Marquez was tweeting about it. It's pretty impressive.
Okay.
Yeah, for context, the iPhone charges at like 27 watts max.
Oh, really?
Like, you can watch this thing in real time go 54, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9%. It's just
mine's not like that fast. I just got this phone, and it's
the S22
Ultra.
Is there
a big Ultra guy?
Yeah, no, the Ultra is like bigger, and it has 4 cameras instead of 3. So it's just in higher res on the other cameras. I got it because it's got great cameras. I think a big
Apple.
Yeah, I don't know from Apple.
Yeah, but Dom can do a 30x zoom, well, 100x zoom, but it's terrible. But the 30x zoom is impressive. Me and Kyle went to Best Buy the other day, and I was playing with the S22 Ultra, and I looked up, pointed at Kyle's face. I should have sent the photo to myself, and I used the 30x zoom, and it was amazing at how clear his face was from like 100 feet away.
That's a sight no one wants to see.
So I saw some really nice pictures of the moon shot with it. I was like, oh, so they did that last year with the S21, whatever, and they look pretty good. But this one is even whatever. Anyway, it's a phone. I'm very happy I got it.
Nice.
But batteries and charging cars. So yeah, cars. We need to get over this supply chain crunch, which it looks like with the conflict in the Ukraine and all that kind of stuff going on. It's going to make it exasperate the whole situation. It's like we're in like hell. But
It's only going to get worse, to be honest. I think
well,
going forwards.
it got to be.
BMW just shut down their production line in Dingolfing because they couldn't get wiring harnesses from Ukraine.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll at some point get better. It can't always be getting worse. I mean, I like to be a little optimistic.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It will get better. I hope we will return with some sort of normalcy. Although even today, Rivian made their announcement where if you want your quad motor, battery pack, the one that you put a reservation for, sorry, you're out of luck. It's what, $15,000 more expensive?
Yeah, it's a bit more for sure. They didn't really message this that well, but I believe there's also the first edition buyers are still saving some money. It's still like $5,000 cheaper, I think, for first edition buyers. But they're still paying more, even those guys. But
yeah, I mean,
girls, whatever.
Look, you gotta do what you gotta do, but that's gonna be a huge loss and a huge PR nightmare for them.
Yeah, but we do need like so we need cheaper batteries, and I think Tesla might be onto something with the LFP batteries, the iron phosphate batteries, which are a lot cheaper to buy. They don't have quite the performance of regular batteries, but they're a lot cheaper. So the places that really need the reductions, I think, is like India is like one country that's huge, and it's got terrible. Besides the whole carbon thing, they have terrible pollution in the cities. It kills a lot of people every year, and to have like small, cheap 100-mile LFP battery runabouts.
You may not even need that much if they just put little plugs everywhere. 110 outlet, they probably have 230 volts. So you put little Schuko plugs everywhere, whatever, they'll get 3 kilowatts, which is probably fine for like an electric tuk-tuk. And actually, we should have a conversation about that because Jordan, you and I know someone who runs the building where our office is in, who was heavily involved in working on reducing inner city pollution and direct emissions from these types of small transportation two-stroke devices.
Yeah. Yeah, the Philippines has a lot of those tuk-tuks as well, and there is an active sort of electric vehicle kind of scene in the Philippines. But
we're seeing innovative things come out of it. We're seeing these new scooter companies come with sort of a rental or a subscription model where you can pull the batteries down and pop a different one in with battery changing stations. And
there's
a lot
of
there's a lot of advancement. And just a lot of like throwing ideas at the wall. I really don't know what's going to stick and what's not. But by far, I hope you would agree, Dominic, this is the time to cover this world.
Yeah, it's a really good time. Yeah, we were a little back in 2008 was a little bit early, and we were like scrounging for news. Any little, Nissan Leaf had an accident somewhere. We're writing that up.
That was newsworthy.
It banged into I don't know, a parking structure or something. I don't know. Anything. There was like no news, so everything got published. But now there's like a lot. There's a lot happening that you just can't cover it all. Like I got stuff coming in my email inbox all day long. And it's like I can't really do anything for you.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, it's a great time to be alive. It's exciting and scary. There's a lot of stuff's happening, but we're happy to see what you're doing in the industry, and we've enjoyed partnering alongside you, especially Kyle and Dom on the InsideEVs podcast. And
well, maybe we should talk about that really quick. Dom, do you remember, because we had Martin on this show a few weeks ago, and we talked about the early days. We've had the whole crew. We've had John, Martin, you, Tom. And so I guess, do you remember, because the InsideEVs podcast, I think, really is something special where we have developed this incredibly engaged audience that
a good audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Each one of us brings a different angle or viewpoint in, and sometimes we make arguments just to make arguments. But what is your impression of the podcast and how it started and all of that? What I mean, did you expect it to be that good of a show?
Well, no, because as you can tell, like watching this podcast, I'm not a really great public speaker. Like I get tongue tied, I twisted, and but I forget
I
what
think it's just part of the
I
charm
can't
of
come up with the words I want to say. You know, whereas Martin is like a professional BBC, DJ broadcaster at one point. But yeah, so I guess we got a sponsorship or something, but for a podcast, but we didn't have a podcast, and so they asked for volunteers, and I'm like, no one was raising their hand or anything in the chat, and it's like, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. Yeah, we'll try it, and yeah.
And then we're still with the original starting crew of that show, aren't we? 100 episodes, which this will go up after it, but this week is 100 episodes of that show. I've had to look at your face for almost 2 years.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. It's been
my
great.
face was like a lot different like 2 years ago too, because before the pandemic I was like short hair and no beard.
Right.
I think it was just started because the show just started just at the start of the pandemic. And
now you've gone full rock star mode, and I'm looking at videos of you performing, and that's one thing. Maybe we should have you back on to talk a little bit more about music, because our show isn't about cars specifically; it's about anything. But I think it'd be really great to talk about some of the songs you've written, because I listen. I'm a fan. I listen to the music often, not just on occasion. And so it's in the car when I drive around. I really enjoy it, and you make some wonderful music.
I need to do some proper recordings.
Yes, let's do that. We should do, I got an idea for an EV road trip, Dominic. You and I, we need to jump in a Cadillac Lyric, because it's named the Lyric because there's most amount of songs named after Cadillac.
That's right.
So musical themed road trip in the Lyric, where we go around to different recording studios, underground recording studios, not famous ones, people that have, in the community developed their little things, and you record a different album or different song on your album across the country, and we road trip in the Lyric.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
What don't you like about it? I think that's a great idea.
Just recording is like a bit of a process. So that would just be me and my guitar. So to record something properly, we have to bring out like a bass player. And I have a bass player I've been working with.
How many seats does the car hold?
So, pardon?
How many? Is it a 7-seater? It's 5-seater, right?
Well, it's only going to be a 3-seater with an with an upright bass in the back.
You put it on the roof.
There you go. Another idea I want to pursue is like maybe we find the quietest electric car and then put a couple microphones in it. And then I think it'd be fun if Dom and I did like a recording on the spot without planning it, and just being like, this is recorded within X and X's car.
Well, we got the car. It's the EQS. It's
BMW iX. I heard that was very quiet.
iX
it is
very quiet. So e-tron, EQS, iX, and surprisingly Mustang Mach-E and Ioniq 5, all very quiet, but like EQS is a whole nother level, I think.
Yeah.
But what's a little bit awkward for recording might be is that car has active noise cancellation. So I'm not sure of the actual noise levels. It's canceling a lot of the outside noise.
Which should be all that matters. But yeah. Well, we've about reached the end of our show, but Dom, we really appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to have you back, like Kyle said. We enjoy having our friends on to hear what you do and what you'll do in the future. So for those who want to find Dom, other than the open mic nights wherever you might be playing, Dominic_Y on Twitter. Of course, I'm Jordan_Schieffer, Kyle at It's Kyle Connor, and Out of Spec on Twitter. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.